A 17-year-old girl was supposed to go to school but never arrived. Soon after, the police took up her case and quickly uncovered a series of unexpected facts and evidence. Eventually, this led to the unraveling of the mystery, and the case was solved in a way that moved the entire country. Over the years, we've collected many stories on this channel, each one unique in its own way. Please, subscribe for more stories. Ellie Gould was born on February 6, 2002, in a small British town called Calne. She grew up in a large, close-knit family that included her parents, brother, and many other relatives. From a young age, Ellie adored animals, especially horses. Her parents frequently took her to a farm, and at one point they even decided to buy her a pony. Ellie began practicing horseback riding, competed in various events, and achieved notable success. She dreamed of studying psychology at university and aspired to work in the police force. In early 2019, at age 17, Ellie was completing her final year of school. Ellie had many friends, as she always made an effort to connect with everyone and avoid conflicts. Early in the year, she invited a friend over, and they began spending more time together. On May 3rd, Ellie woke up early as usual and started getting ready for school. She didn't have any morning classes that day, so she only needed to attend in the afternoon. She planned to visit her friend, say goodbye to her parents as they left for work, and wait until it was time to leave. A few hours later, Ellie told her friend that she wanted to skip school that day and stay home. Her friend assumed she just didn't feel like attending for a few classes and went to school without her. Around 3 p.m., Ellie's father returned home from work. Heading into the kitchen, he was met with a heartbreaking sight. Ellie was lying face down on the floor in a large pool of blood. In shock, he initially thought she might have fallen and hit her head. But then, her father noticed blood stains throughout the kitchen. He also saw a knife lodged in his daughter's neck with her hands clutching at it. Immediately, he called for an ambulance and tried to administer first aid, following the operator's guidance. Sadly, Ellie showed no signs of life, and her father realized she was already gone. When paramedics arrived, they confirmed her death, estimating she had been deceased for at least 4 hours. In addition, the doctor noted that her body bore multiple stab wounds, primarily on the neck. Ellie's parents were in shock, struggling to comprehend the tragedy. When the police informed them that their daughter had been murdered, her father initially refused to believe it, clinging to the hope it was a terrible accident. Upon examining her body, the medical expert uncovered additional details, including 13 stab wounds and a fatal injury to her neck. Experts concluded that the attacker may not have been fully aware of his actions when he grabbed the knife. They also identified numerous defensive wounds, suggesting Ellie fought to defend herself. As forensic teams examined the crime scene, police began their investigation. When they questioned Ellie's parents about possible suspects, only one name came to mind: Thomas, Ellie's boyfriend. Ellie's mother informed investigators that the couple had started dating just a few months earlier, and initially, Ellie seemed very happy with Thomas. It was her first relationship, and Thomas came across as a good guy, dedicated to his studies, involved in sports, and even a member of his school's rugby team. However, their relationship soon grew strained. Thomas increasingly wanted to spend all his time with her, and his persistence became more intense by the day. Ellie, on the other hand, found it hard to spend as much time with Thomas as he wanted. She needed to focus on preparing for her final exams and caring for her pony, among other responsibilities. Thomas's behavior began to worsen significantly. He grew irritable and moody when she chose not to spend time with him and became increasingly controlling. He called and texted her throughout the day, getting frustrated when she didn't respond immediately. Her parents initially thought Thomas might not be the right fit for Ellie. When he visited, he often sat in silence, which they found odd. Thomas, unlike Ellie, was highly unsocial, which led her parents to believe that their relationship might not last, and indeed it didn't. Just a few months after they began dating, Ellie started questioning their relationship. Thomas's increasingly controlling behavior made her uncomfortable, and she realized she needed to prioritize her studies and university preparation. Ultimately, she decided to meet him to discuss ending things. They met on May 2nd. the day before her tragic death. The police also spoke with Ellie's friends, who provided further insights into her relationship with Thomas. They shared that Ellie had told them about Thomas's negative reaction to her decision. He attempted to convince her to stay in the relationship, persistently calling and asking to meet, though Ellie declined. After the breakup, Thomas reportedly changed significantly. He even posted online, mentioning that the recent days had been very hard for him, according to mutual friends. Aside from breaking up with Ellie, Thomas was also dealing with recent family hardships. His father had been diagnosed with cancer, and his aunt had passed away. In his online post, Thomas expressed struggling to cope and mentioned planning to reach out to the school psychologist. Friends who saw his post offered their support, observing that he seemed genuinely depressed. However, when asked by police whether they thought he could harm Ellie, his friends found it difficult to believe. The police then decided to speak with him directly, but first examined Ellie's smartphone, discovering a message from Thomas that morning suggesting they meet. The police went to Thomas's house and questioned him about his whereabouts that morning. Thomas explained that his mother had dropped him off at school, but he was too upset due to the breakup and other family issues to attend his classes. Instead, after his mother left, he went to a nearby bus stop and returned home. On his way back, Thomas also messaged his teacher to let them know he wouldn't be attending class. According to Thomas, he stayed home, worked on homework, and rested for the remainder of the day. During the interview, he asked the police if Ellie was okay, at which point they informed him of her death. After concluding their conversation, the investigators visited Thomas's mother, which led to a surprising twist. She confirmed dropping him off at school, but noted that he hadn't been home afterward. This prompted the police to revisit Thomas for further questioning. Thomas explained that he didn't want his mother to know he'd been out all day, so he hid in his closet until she left for work. During the police questioning, officers noted that he had fresh scratches. When asked about them, Thomas claimed they were from an accidental scratch, though this was met with skepticism by the investigators. Given that medical experts found signs of defensive wounds on Ellie, it was possible Thomas's injuries occurred during an altercation, strengthening the suspicion against him. The officers also approached Ellie's relatives, and one provided a useful detail. That morning he saw a man approaching Ellie's house, though he couldn't see his face or distinct features, only his clothing. The police then checked Thomas's alibi using his smartphone's location data. They confirmed that Thomas had returned home from school, but found discrepancies in his story. At 10:50, his phone disconnected from his home Wi-Fi and connected near Ellie's house just 3 minutes later, where it stayed for about an hour. At 11:51, Thomas's phone showed movement back toward his house and reconnected to his home Wi-Fi shortly after. Police realized he couldn't have covered this distance on foot in just a few minutes, as he lived several kilometers from Ellie's home in a nearby village. Reviewing surveillance footage along the route, they spotted a silver Ford Focus belonging to his parents, confirming that Thomas had driven to Ellie's house that morning. The movement of the car closely matched Thomas's phone activity, leading investigators to conclude he was likely driving. Surveillance cameras captured the vehicle departing from and returning to Thomas's home 18 minutes later. Unfortunately, no camera footage provided insight into his specific destination. However, based on signal tracking, police identified an approximate area where Thomas had been and conducted searches there, hoping to uncover more information related to Ellie's death. This evidence increasingly pointed to his involvement in the tragic events. which impacted the court's decision. He received a life sentence but was granted eligibility for parole after 12 years, with an additional 5 years added for violent conduct against the deceased. This means he could be eligible for release by the age of 34, pending future parole decisions. The sentencing of Thomas shocked not only the victim's family, but also the public, who felt the punishment was too lenient for a deliberate murder. Many were dismayed that someone who committed such a brutal act could potentially be free within a relatively short period. Ellie's father voiced his concerns, warning that Thomas's early release could endanger other women, believing him to be a psychopath who poses a societal risk if paroled. Despite public outrage, the court's decision stood firm. The tragic case of Ellie Gould led her parents to advocate for legislative change, pushing for harsher penalties for offenders. In 2021, their efforts paid off when a law named in Ellie's memory was enacted, allowing judges to issue sentences up to 27 years for certain violent crimes, particularly for premeditated murder cases. Although this law did not apply retroactively to Thomas, Ellie's parents were able to secure a court-mandated long-term therapy requirement for him post-release, aiming to prevent future violent behavior. Ellie's parents honor her memory through regular horseback rides in the afternoon, a nod to her love for riding which brings them comfort. Ellie's mother has said that this ritual helps with healing, as horseback riding was Ellie's favorite pastime. If you found this story meaningful, please leave a comment below and consider liking the video. You can also join our Telegram channel where we share intriguing crime news daily. Thank you for watching.